Hi, I am Catherine Lim, Senior Analyst for Asia Consumer and Technology at Bloomberg Intelligence. I'm joined by Ada Lee, Senior Analyst for Asia Consumer Goods at BI. Today, we will be focusing on China's consumer goods sector for both discretionary goods and staples. The changes in China's consumption trends so far this year and the sector's outlook for the rest of 2023 going into 2024. China's third quarter retail sales, in our opinion, may rise less than consensus estimates for a 5.7% year-on-year increase after July's gain of 2.5% fell below expectations. The likelihood of a wider August gain against a high 2022 base is low, as consumer sentiment in the last 3 weeks has stagnated at July's level. We have observed that retailers steepened discounts for the Qixi Festival, or Chinese Valentine's Day, held on the 7th day of every 7th lunar month and falling specifically on August 22nd this year. September's retail sales growth from a COVID-impacted level a year ago is critical for offsetting any shortfall in July and August. Markdowns in third quarter, based on what we see, may peak next month as the joint occurrence of Mid-Autumn holiday and the National Day break fuels higher promotions through October.
So, Casper, given the weak retail sales data from China, were there any surprises or key observations that you have seen from the latest set of discretionary results?
Yeah, year-on-year revenue gains, Ada, by Alibaba's China commerce units, Nike, Adidas, Antar, and Li-Ning in the mainland. Third quarter to date, strength in our opinion based on the indications from the companies versus the prior quarter. The lack of a material uptick in consumer sentiment, to be honest, in the last 6 to 7 weeks based on, August 10th to 14th indications and to date from the respective companies, including Ada, Posheng, which is a major distributor of Nike and Adidas in China, raises the likelihood that the firm's sales gains this month will trail July's due to a high August 2022 base. I guess the way I see it, this may prompt retailers to steepen discounts and forgo third quarter margin gains to spur spending through the extended Mid-Autumn and National Day holidays, which essentially starts September 29 to October 6. Notwithstanding, of course, Ada, I have my mind on thinking about heavy rains and floods in selected Chinese cities, including Beijing last month, already hurt sales of major sportswear firms and their distributors in the mainland. So we really have to see, whether we see any consumption sentiment picking up over the next couple of weeks. So on the staple side, Ada, actually, have you seen similar weakness in demand for the companies as well?
Thanks, Catherine. Contrary to the consumer discretionary companies, the consumer staples companies actually remained quite resilient during the first half. Alcoholic beverages companies have benefited from China's reopening since the beginning of the year. Consumers resumed their business events and also returned to restaurants and nightlife during this period. In the first half, most of the larger Baijiu companies have remained robust and reported double-digit sales growth, while the brewers also recorded solid high single-digit to low double-digit sales increases. For the non-alcoholic beverages, on the other hand, such as soft drinks and bottled water, the companies have benefited from very strong demands due to the hotter temperatures in second quarter. The dairy companies' performance remained steady, with green shoots in categories such as ice creams. However, the infant milk companies have been under tremendous pressure as competition intensifies due to declining birth rates and also the rollout of the new national standards.
Right, I see. Ada, I know you also cover China's home appliances market. So what's the impact that you've seen in that sector so far?
Yes, Catherine. So sales of the overall home appliances market in China have been under pressure on the back of the declines in housing sales as well as the weakened consumer confidence. We have seen a strong rebound in white goods sales in June on the back of 618 shopping festivals and also hotter weather for aircon demand. Based on our high-frequency data, sales of home appliances show little indications of letting up in July and August. So the impact of China's property crisis on consumer spending on home appliances is quite clear. Well, anyway, let's change gears and talk about the outlook. Catherine, how do you think the changes in consumption pattern in China is going to affect the revenue and earnings outlook for the discretionary companies in second half and going into 2024?
Again, really looking at the high August 22 base, it raises the bar really for receipts growth this month, again in August. Now, assuming that the August sales continue to flounder, really I do see selected retailers steepening discounts next month to try and again spur purchases through what I've earlier mentioned about the joint Mid-Autumn and National Day holiday. Now, in fact, looking at the potential extension of markdowns, a widening of retail sales growth into fourth quarter, to be honest, then due to a low impacted base last year because of COVID, I don't know whether it's going to be enough to allay fears that, consumer confidence and buying sentiment in China will just stay like last year in 2024.
So what do you think are the key catalysts that we should be looking out for?
So Ada, on the staple side, are you as skeptical on second half and into 2024?
Well, in terms of earnings outlook for the various staple segments, I think the key driver for earnings growth in the second half will be lower input costs. We expect second half revenue of China's baijiu and beer companies to remain robust on the back of robust consumer demand. Earnings for baijiu companies could increase along with sales, while beer companies' earnings could rebound in the second half on the back of lower key input prices and also higher average selling prices. Softer raw milk prices could boost dairy companies' margins, while stabilizing PET prices may lift margins for non-alcoholic beverages firms.
I see. What about the home appliance sector then?
So the home appliances sector may continue to stay under pressure in second half going into 2024. The China's government's push to promote household consumption could stimulate demand. Yet, we believe any full-fledged recovery in demand is likely to require a much more steadier housing market recovery. So while we could see some seasonal driven demand such as more aircon sales during hotter weathers, more large white goods sales during major shopping festivals, we think demand from new home owners is likely to remain muted in the near term. So Catherine, we have talked a lot about the various consumer segments. If I have to ask you to sum up, what is the one key thing that we should watch out for going into 2024?
Ada, I'm actually really very keen to find out if the surge in online spending by mainland Chinese consumers on services such as flights, tours, and entertainment will persist next year. See, we've actually seen the rise in such spending reaching nearly 6% of China's headline retail sales in the first 7 months of 2023. And, same time last year, it was less than 5%. So really, I guess, I'm on the lookout to see whether the greater propensity to spend on travel and entertainment by Chinese consumers after the cessation of, zero COVID measures, which, in my opinion, probably hurt the sales of traditional consumer goods that we have seen to date, persists. And, if this actually turns out to be a temporary phenomenon next year, we might see incrementally higher spending on the non-service-based consumer goods, particularly if uncertainties to the Chinese economy dissipates.
Thank you, Catherine. And with that, let's bring this to a close. Thank you all for watching. That concludes our conversation about the changes in consumer trends in China and how that can impact the discretionary and staples companies. For more information, please visit our BI industry dashboards, BI Conda and BI FMCGA. This is Ada Lee and Catherine Lim from Bloomberg Intelligence. Goodbye.